Well, let's talk a little bit about Pure. I know you created 3 courses in our Pure program. So why don't you give us a little synopsis of those courses, and then we'll talk about each one a little bit.
Yeah. So we've got the first one I thought about was self-care for project managers.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's big for me. I've had some jobs where it's stressful, I'll say,
Sure.
for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And finding ways to still operate in the stress and to learn how to overcome or move through it. And this doesn't just apply to, our work. Our whole lives have things coming at us, unexpected things. How do we adjust and adapt? And when I think about it, it's like, I forget who told me this, but you can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And so for me, it's important that project managers know how to do that. How can you take time to rest and recover, to care for your body or your mental or emotional state, these kind of things?
I have I'm sorry. I have a quote that I carry with me, and that I tell people I work with, and I tell myself this: is you cannot pour from an empty vessel.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take care of yourself before you can serve others. Just like on the airplane, you put your mask on, and then you're the children, God forbid, you're in that scenario. But you got to take care of yourself first. That's so important.
Yeah. So that was the genesis of that course.
Right.
Next, I was thinking, okay, what are things about projects that I know I misunderstood when I started?
Sure.
Or where do I feel like people maybe misapply some ideas? And that result was the Postmortem and Lessons Learned chunk.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I know when I was first learning project management by the book, when a project goes wrong, you do a postmortem to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
No. Like, in my mind, every project should have one. It could be me sitting for 5 minutes. How did it go?
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's more like an after action report. Postmortem is a bit morbid.
Yeah.
But we can learn from every project, regardless of good, bad, or otherwise. Even the good ones, how could we do better? How do we amplify?
Right.
And then what do we learn from projects? Again, lessons learned, it's only in the last closing step where you sit down and document what you learned. It's like, no, you can learn every step of the way.
Right. Exactly.
And I know I'm guilty of this. I frequently don't. I need to make time to sit down, and whether it's, write it down on a bit of paper and look at it once every 10 years, or have it in, my computerized system so I can share it. How do we learn from what we're doing and help others improve? So that was one area where I was like, oh, I think a lot of folks could benefit from this, thinking about projects.
So in my organization, it's relatively small. We have 5 employees. And at the end of an endeavor, a new course, or a writing project, or an endeavor like Pure, we at the end do a lessons learned, just kind of a debrief. But we always anticipate, how do we apply this next? What's next on the horizon for us? And so what can we take from here? What do we want more of? What do we want less of? What safeguards should we put in place to alleviate those risks that came into play? And that just helps us refine our process. But we always have that mindset of not just, okay, it's great, but how do I actually apply this in the next chunk of work, or what's on the horizon? So I think sometimes people get in the motion without the application of lessons learned. So I think your course is really good. You talk about that, and the intermittent learning. You don't have to wait to the end to learn and apply, like a sprint review or the retrospective in an agile environment. So I think that's important.
While you're saying that, I remember when I was a kid, I must have seen a book somewhere of some kid going to the library and having a big stack of books. I'm like, I'm going to do that. And I got a lot of books in the library. I don't think I read any of them, but I felt good about having the books. To your point about like going through the motions, like, yeah, we did a lessons learned. It's like, cool. What did you do with it?
Yeah, exactly. So how do you apply this in your next endeavors is so important.
Yeah. Or like, I think a lot about how do you help another group?
Yeah, right. That's true too.
Yeah, in our projects, like we always think about ours and mine, and especially when you're within one organization, there's other teams doing similar things somewhere.
Right.
Go help them with the landmines.
Tell us about your third class, as we both get a little refreshment.
Yes. The third one I did was it's called Project Hacks, and this one I was thinking of again. In my background, I've got the book on the shelf somewhere and buy the book, but like, you can't fit everything about running a project in a book. There's just too much that could happen, that can happen.
Right. Yeah.
And when I thought, there's another image. I forget the advertisement, but it's a mechanic working on an aircraft, and he like tightens a bolt and gets a face full of oil. And the whole thing was about having digital documentation. He can go and update it. But like, what are the little things that you just know through experience? Like, don't touch that bolt. You're gonna get covered in oil.
Yeah. Exactly.
What are those? What are the project management versions of those that I can share with others?
Yeah.
And for some people, they'll watch that and go, yeah, obviously. For other people, they're going to go, oh, wait a minute, I can do it that way. So it was just a different perspective on a lot of the things that I took as, to use the phrase gospel truth, that you can bend it a little, you can push it. A Harry Potter reference for any Harry Potter fans. This is the alchemy book that Snape wrote in, like, no, it's a quarter turn left, not a half turn. It's those handwritten notes in the margins that I was hoping to share.
Yeah. Well, I love that, because I like the idea of hacking your project. Remember, that was kind of a big thing, like how to hack your dinner or how to hack your swimming pool or whatever it was. So I like that, how to hack your project, and some little things from there that are like, oh, that's a good idea. How can I take that and, maybe a twist and turn it a little bit to work where I am? And so I think that's a good thing to take away from that.
Yeah, it's certainly not a, do it this way. It's, hey, Rob, have found it worked this way. Right. Please, riff on it.